Thanks for clicking on the video. I'm Mike, the driver. Today we're taking a look at a Toyota Camry SE. Toyota Camry is one of the heavy hitters of the midsize sedan market. So let's take a look to see what makes this car tick and why people love it. All right, let's go. So looking at the exterior of the Toyota Camry, from the side it's pretty traditional, your four-door sedan, midsize sedan. But front and rear, it's got a really sporty intention. If you look, you've got this really kind of sharp nose, these narrow angular headlights, and these fake grills on the side, but you've got at least a real grill right here and here. It's what they've been going for in the 8th generation is to show that the Camry is more than just your boring midsize sedan that it had been for decades. And in the rear, you know, you've got similar with the angular taillights, and they've got like a sporty diffuser back there. And I'm sure that diffuser is only good for looks and not aero, but it's showing that the car has, you know, sportier intentions, or at least would like to be sporty. And on the side here, we've got these 18-inch wheels. And I like these. These are kind of similar to what we have on the Supra with black painted and then aluminum polished on the wheel. So got that a dual tone there. And these are wrapped in 235 with tires. So you do get some actual performance from that, not so much the wheel, but definitely the tire size. Okay, now we look at the side here. Look at the side mirrors here. These are sculpted. And you've got these sculpted lines that run along the side of the car. And when you put all that together, you get a bit of a controversial design for Toyota. The Camry's always been this understated, boring, car. And they went ahead and made some changes in the 8th generation to get more attention, to attract younger buyers who are going for things like, Mazdas or Hondas and things like that. And not so much going for the older buyer that likes the boring Camry. I actually like it, and maybe this proves that they were right to go in this direction. The Camry's not a car that I see myself buying or driving, but I do like the look of it. All right, let's take a look at the back. Okay, so there's actually not a button on the outside of the car to open the trunk, so you've either got to use your key fob, or there's a button on the dash next to the steering wheel. And this is quite a cavernous trunk space we've got here. There's plenty of room back here. I could climb in and fit perfectly. I'm not going to, but I could if I needed to. And then under the floor here, we've got tools if you need to change the flat. And then beneath that, you've got a spare tire. I'm not a fan of spare tires, especially with the inflated rim size that we have on vehicles today. But this one seems like it's a good enough size to where if you ran into trouble and needed it, you're not going to be leaned over when you switch it out. Additionally, we've got pulls here and here to let down the back seats so you can have a clear load path if you have bigger items that you need to get into the vehicle. All right, so sitting inside the Camry, I think it's a pretty nice space to be in. You can definitely tell the dash is taking some styling cues from the exterior of the vehicle, because there are a lot of curves and lines. You've got this kind of S curve that splits the center console, and it's fine for the driver's side. I've got plenty of leg room here, but I think it's going to take some leg room away from your passenger. But it's a pretty traditional setup. On this model, we've got 2 analog gauges here for your RPM and then your miles per hour. And then you've got your temperature, water temperature gauge, and then you've got your fuel gauge here. In the middle, we've got a small little LCD screen. I think it's probably a 3.5-inch screen. I'm surprised by the amount of information that they have in the display here. I was trying to get to the digital speed, and I was like getting a little overwhelmed by the amount of stuff I had to scroll through just to get to it. So you've got lots of customization here. And then we move to the center with our entertainment. We've got a nice big touchscreen here, a 7-inch touchscreen. It's got buttons on it, as well as a power volume control knob, and a tuning knob. I'm a big fan of touchscreens with buttons. That way you can easily manipulate what's on the screen. But if you need to change to something different, you don't have to hunt through, you don't have to hit the screen a bunch of times to get to it. You can hit, your home, your menu, whether you want navigation, phone, things like that. So always a big fan of buttons that go along with a touchscreen. You also have Apple CarPlay in this vehicle, Android Auto as well. I actually like how some of the buttons will take you to certain things in CarPlay if you have it hooked up. So earlier I had my phone hooked up and I hit map. I just see what would happen, and it took me to Google Maps in my phone, and I was pretty surprised about that. And then I hit audio and it took me to my music app, and I haven't noticed that on any other car, so I think that's pretty clever to be in here. Coming down, you've got a couple of articulating fans or vents for your HVAC controls, your hazard signal. You've got your HVAC controls here. I like how it's pretty clear display just right here, where when you adjust your temperature, it's not something that pops up on this screen. So if you ever wanted to turn off the screen, you still have your HVAC information displayed. Moving further down, we have a USB plug-in. We've got a 12-volt plug-in. This USB will allow you to connect your phone to the infotainment. And then someplace you can put your phone when you're driving, or if you just want to hide some things out of the way. Moving a little further back from that, we've got 2 cup holders here, and they're pretty decent size. It holds my drink pretty well, and it's not too snug where you're going to have trouble pulling it out, but you don't have to worry about it, flopping around either while you're driving. And then we've got a shifter here. I like the traditional shifter, with all the electronic shifters that are popping up in cars. It makes things a little confusing at times when you get into a vehicle, but I like, you just pull it, put it in the gear you want, and you're good. When you're in drive, you can move it over to sport, and then the transmission, usually what I find is the transmission will drop down a gear when I'm doing that. And, it's okay, but this is a Camry, so you're not really trying to drive it, sporty. And then moving further back, you've got this big center console. You've got 2 more USB charging here. You've got your traditional USB-A, and then you've got a USB-C as well. So it's pretty nice. This is pretty cavernous. You can put lots of stuff in there. I'm sure whoever buys this, the people that buy these cars, it's gonna be loaded with stuff. The seats, I think, are pretty good. They're wider than me. They're built for a wide variety of body types. But I do like the look of the seats. You've got this kind of two-tone, or maybe not two-tone, but definitely the different materials. You've got this leather material that is most of the seat, and then the center section we've got a nice cloth insert. I wish there was more contrast in the coloring on this, but it's not bad. It's definitely going to hold you in place. One thing that I do kind of like on the seats is there's a nice kind of stripe that runs down. It's like a faux suede that runs down. It looks pretty clever. I believe that Toyota is doing that on all the seats for the Camry as well. Coming back up here to the steering wheel, we've got pretty good sized steering wheel. It feels good in the hand. There's lots of buttons on your steering wheel. Your buttons over here are going to control the center screen in the console, and then your buttons over here are going to control things like your lane departure assist, and your cruise control, and your radar cruise spacing, as well as lower down here below that we've got volume controls, audio, and then your controls for the stereo. As we move to the door here, it's pretty, it's soft touch here and here, but we've got some hard plastics here. It's not a cheap plastic, it's not scratchy at all, but it is definitely, hard plastic. Then we've got our controls for the windows, or for the side mirrors, sorry. And then for your windows, your door locks, things like that. Nothing fancy. The door pocket for your drink or whatever, I think it's actually pretty small. I was surprised. Given how big the door is, I assume that they would have a bigger spot for you to put a drinks bottle, but I think you probably be able to get away with a 20 ounce, and that's about it. Okay, so sitting in the back seat here, plenty of room, got good headroom, good leg room. I'm 6'4", mostly, that's in the legs, and I've got really good room back here. I didn't move the seat at all. This is where I am driving at, and I've got plenty of knee room as well as foot room as well. So that's pretty good. You can have tall driver and tall passengers and no issues whatsoever. Seats are pretty good back here. You've got a little bit of bolstering. You're not going to roll around when you're sitting back here. You got that same material and style in the back that you do in the front, with the leather type material on the outer portion, but where you're sitting, where your body is mainly sitting, you've got the cloth insert. Same thing you do up front. I'm a little surprised that there are no vents back here, and there's no kind of USB charging as well in the center stack. So, in this SE model, you are losing some amenities with this. But you got kind of the normal door control, locks. You got that same kind of material that you do up front, but you don't have the soft touch here. It's all hard plastic here and here, and you got hard where your elbow would sit. But so I'm a little surprised to see that, why they just didn't carry the same material from the front to the back. I guess that's a place you could save cost. Who knows? So you've got your armrest here with cup holders. This is pretty nice, pretty soft. But if you have a cup here, I don't know if you want your arm resting on it. And this doesn't seem very stable either, depending on what drinks you're gonna put there. We do have latch anchors back here, and you've got these little plastic nubbles that will pop off and you'll probably lose it. But it is nice that the anchors are pretty easy to get to. I know a lot of cars, that can be a problem for parents. Overall, I think the space is nice, and yeah, you can definitely be back here for a long drive. Just hope you have a long cord so you can use the USB charger in the center armrest instead of trying to have something back here. So the steering and suspension on the Toyota is pretty nice. Car definitely goes where I want it to go when I point it, but it's not hyperactive to where I've got to worry about any little action I put on the wheel is going to cause it to go one direction or another. And it's definitely, your suspension's not overly firm to where it's going to be tracking lines in the road. But it's you're not like wallowing through corners or over bumps in the road. It's a really good setup, and I would say it's the Goldilocks setup, to where it's just right. And I think the target buyer for this car is going to be very happy with this suspension setup. Now, if you do want a Camry with more performance, there is the TRD model, and that's got stiffer suspension, bigger engine, things like that. But granted, I don't know what Camry buyer is asking for a TRD version, but we're just going to be happy that it exists, right? The engine is a 2.5 liter four-cylinder that's mated to an 8-speed automatic, and it makes 203 horsepower, 184 foot-pounds of torque. And again, it's adequate. It's not anything to get excited about, but it definitely gets the car, up to speed. But, the one problem I have with it is the gearing on the transmission seems pretty spaced out. I feel that whenever I'm doing a hard acceleration, there are big drops in the transmission, and it's just accelerating for a long time to get up to speed. And maybe that's just my driving style, but I'm not sure, to be honest. Also, the steering wheel, I like how it feels in your hand. It's nice and chunky. It's not too big, not too small, and I like how it's contoured to the hand. Just kind of feels right holding it. Visibility out of the car is really good. You got nice low kind of cutouts for your windows and things like that. So I don't feel there are too many blind spots. Even your C-pillar It's not very big. So I think properly set up, your mirrors and everything, you won't have any issues seeing what's around you. But in addition to that, you also have lane keep assist and collision warning as well. So this morning when I was driving, there were some ducks in the road, so I went to drive around them, and the car's beeping at me, which is what I expected to happen. But then I noticed that as I actually got out of the lane, the car started to pull me back. And it wasn't in a dangerous manner, and it wasn't in such a way to where, you know, if you're holding the wheel, you're not going to be able to maintain control of the vehicle. But I was surprised at that, because at no point prior had it done anything like that. And granted, I tend to drive between the lines on the road. But so it's nice if for whatever reason you're distracted and you end up drifting out of the lane, the car will bring you back, and it will also notify you that you are drifting. But for the uninitiated, if you don't know that's there, it is going to surprise you. So final thoughts on the Toyota Camry SE. I can say now I get why the Toyota Camry has been one of the top vehicles in the mid-size sedan market for so long. While there are things that I personally would like to be a little better here and there with the car, whether it's the transmission, the engine, whatever, I can find no true flaws with the car. And I think for someone who is not necessarily a car person, or someone who's not really going to nitpick a car like I will, is going to be extremely happy with this car. You know, Toyotas are super reliable. That's what I love about Toyota, their engineering process and how they really try to design the flaws out of their cars. But, you know, the material quality could be better in some trim levels. Like this SE, you've got some cheap plastics here and there, but it doesn't detract from the overall package, right? I think anyone who buys this car is going to be super happy with it long term. If you've got a growing family, this is a car that you can keep. You know, you're going to be able to, it's going to grow with you, whether you need to put in infant car seats, booster seats, whatever, it's there. If you've got a full-sized family already, and you know, you can have 4 adults sit in the car in perfect comfort. So this is definitely, I get it. I understand now. Is it something that I'm going to buy? No, but that's because I want a little more sport in anything that I drive. But like I said, for the average car buyer, that target demographic, this is right on the money. And this actually makes me excited to drive cars such as the Honda Accord and the Kia K5, just to see, okay, you know, are those cars truly better, or is it just the newest thing on the market? So people are willing to say that, oh, this is different, so this is better than the Toyota. I don't know. We'll see. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you like the Camry? Are you excited about that TRD Camry? Or do you like its competitors better, such as what Honda and Kia have to offer? Okay, well, that's all I got. Like and subscribe if you want, and thanks for watching.